What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the remote front office. Today it finally happened. So I know you guys saw the video Monday about Damian Lillard possibly going to the Bulls and that garbage rumor that I had heard. Today, though, those rumors can be put to bed as Dame is no longer going to the Bulls. He has been traded. But before we get into that, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Monday, Wednesday, Friday over here, we will be covering the Damian Lillard trade today. And then Friday will either be Drew Holiday trade destinations or a reaction of the Drew Holiday trade, depending on what happens when. But today we are talking, as I said earlier, Damian Lillard trade. He got traded to Milwaukee in kind of a rather surprising, hadn't really been talked about here recently, but it makes sense once you put the puzzle pieces together. So, the initial rumor was Miami for Dame, kind of fell through. And then this week we started to hear a bunch of random rumors of Chicago, Toronto, Boston, top 5 teams that have called this week, and just a bunch of random stuff, right? And then today about 1:15 Central Time, I got the notification from Woj, and of course after that my Twitter notifications broke of, oh my god, Dame's been traded. And I was just getting back from lunch at work, and I looked, he got traded to Milwaukee. So here's the deal, it's a 3-team deal. The Milwaukee Bucks get Damian Lillard. The Blazers, because they were a part of this, obviously, are getting Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Tomani Camara. I doubt I'm saying that name right. A 2029 first-round Bucks pick, and then pick swaps in 28 and 30. And then the Phoenix Suns, because they are a part of this deal, as the DeAndre Ayton rumors came about, I believe, last week, are getting Yusuf Nurkic, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen. So let's break this down, right? The Bucks get Damian Lillard. Makes sense because we had started to hear the rumors pick back up again this week of Giannis was starting to get unhappy. He was looking at free agency. He wasn't sure if he was staying. All those rumors started picking up, especially Woj, I think, tweeted it out a couple of days ago. And the last time that happened, the Bucks made a win-now move and brought in Drew Holiday. Giannis signed that extension, and they won the title a couple years later, right? They did kind of almost the same thing. Started to hear Giannis might not sign his extension when it comes up. He's looking at the open market. I said, okay, let's go get you Dame Lillard, and you're going to sign that extension. Now, obviously, Giannis hasn't officially signed his extension yet, but I believe he is extension eligible here pretty soon. So don't be surprised if it's a 3-year deal, would be my guess. Maybe a 4-year, or it's like a 3 and a player. Just kind of based off lining it up with the Dame Lillard contract. This also makes a little more sense now as far as the Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton contract, because those are also 3 years. So essentially, after 3 years, you can see what this team does and then wipe your hands completely clean of the roster and start over, right? It's essentially what you're looking at. Between the draft picks, between the players, all of it. You can wipe it clean, start over. The Blazers get Drew Holiday, who, again, like I premised by saying there's probably another video coming. I'm assuming he gets traded, right? I would assume it's before training camp. And they just wire it as part of this deal, because otherwise you have to wait 60 days to trade him. But I'm assuming it's part of this deal, quote unquote, and he goes to whoever that other team is, which I'll have that video on Friday. But I understand it from Milwaukee. Obviously, contract-wise, it had to work that way, right? You're relying now a lot on Chris Middleton, and you're relying a lot on Giannis defensively on the perimeter, right? I understand Drew didn't have a great series against Miami last year, and I understand he is getting up there in age. But he's a better defender than Damian Lillard, and that's just a matter of fact, right? He's not as good of a scorer, so I am curious as far as how this offense works late in game. I do like the fact that now Giannis has another closer for him, like on that finals run Middleton was, right? Middleton still hasn't obviously gotten all the way back to Middleton after his injury, but I think now you're taking the pressure off of Giannis late game. You're allowing him to be more of a defensive-minded player. You're allowing more versatility. You don't have to have Brook Lopez in. You can go small. Chris Middleton now doesn't have to be your closer all the time, every night, as far as having the ball in his hands. He can play off ball and kind of take that pressure off him and, again, still get back from that injury. Um, I do just kind of question defensively how this team does because this team's always been rather good defensively. Granted, because you had Brook Lopez, Giannis, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton, and then you just threw in an extra player. Um, so this team's always been really good defensively. I'm curious as to how far that drops off now. But I do think again this puts them at the top, if not maybe second in the East right now, right? But anyhow, back to the Blazers because I got sidetracked with the Drew Holiday thing. DeAndre Ayton. This rumor came up, I believe, week and a half ago, that DeAndre Ayton was a possibility for the Suns, and it was Nurkic in the deal, right? And everybody on Twitter was like, that makes 0 sense. Ayton's younger, healthier, and better. Why? Other than the fact that obviously that relationship seems to have nuclear explosioned and is completely unrecoverable, right? We've thought that for the last 2 years. But Ayton, I like him for the Blazers. He is on the right timeline. You obviously have a lot of salary cap space now with Dame being gone, and I think it's worth a shot. He was a first overall pick. Granted, was it warranted? Probably not. Should have been Luka. But I think he's still, as far as a two-way player, has a lot to offer for this team. The team's not expecting to win games. He can kind of grow and develop and see what a full range game of DeAndre Ayton is, right? Away from Devin Booker, away from Kevin Durant, away from Chris Paul. Granted, the Chris Paul thing I think worked for him, not against him. But I am curious as far as just exactly the rotations now in Portland. Because if you don't trade Dame, I wonder if we get almost a John Wall situation of they say, here, just sit, we'll pay you until we get a trade for you. Because you've already got a lot of guards. You've got the Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons. There's just a lot of guards. And I like Drew for a mentorship. I just don't like him for taking minutes away. The third guy they got, I have no idea. To be entirely honest. Never heard that name. The first round picks I like because, again, that's kind of about where you're at as far as because we're going into 2023-2024 season. So you're looking at picks from about 5 years from now. Giannis is going to be older. I'm assuming Brook Lopez, Dame, Chris Middleton, all gone at that point, right? Just due to age. So I think having that pick and having a swap, in theory, you should be right around the same tier. So maybe you are getting that swap, maybe you're not. But then that just 2029 pick, I think, is going to be more valuable than what people are giving it credit for. And then for the Phoenix Suns part of this, right? Clearly, the DeAndre Ayton situation was just not able to be recovered from, right? We thought it would be last year, and then we got the media day of, I haven't talked to Monty Williams since we got blown out in the playoffs. And then it kind of went from there. And you could kind of just see it at times where Ayton's getting benched at times and Ayton's not giving 100%. And just there was all these other things here and there that you could just tell the situation had broken apart and it wasn't resolvable, right? So the fact that you get Nurkic, who is a step down, but you're not getting the worst center in the league. You're getting like a mid-tier center in the league. And then you get all this bench depth, right? This was the big question going into this season for Phoenix was, well, you've got these 4 guys that you're paying 90% of your cap to. What do you do with the rest of your roster? You brought in Nasir Little, who I like, young, rangy wing, has a lot of potential, is on a good deal. Keon Johnson is, again, rotation level, not a starter probably in my eyes. And then you brought in Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen, for the dirty plays he makes, is a good shooter and a solid defender. So if you have to close games, you can run Beal, Booker, Allen, Durant, Nurkic, or you can run Nasir Little in the Grayson Allen spot. Like, this just opened up with like the Eric Gordons and just all these other guys. This rotation is starting to take shape, right? And that was my biggest concern with Phoenix going into this year. But all in all, I think it's a good trade for everybody. I am curious if the Blazers could have gotten more on the open market. If you would have gone to Toronto and said, give me your best offer, I am curious. But as of right now, I think it's a win for all sides. We'll have to see how it plays out. But I think this Blazers core is looking really well. The Bucks look like, again, top spot for a possible title contention. And then you've got Phoenix, who just went from, oh my God, you're paying 90% of your salary cap to 4 guys. How do you fill out the rest of your roster? To a competent rotation now. I would say they have probably 8, 9 guys now that I can relatively trust for at least a regular season, if not a playoff series, because Grayson Allen's been in the playoffs, right? You have Eric Gordon on that roster, been to the playoffs. Nurkic has been in playoff games, right? I think you have now well-rounded that roster more than I initially feared was going to be the case of you're going to have 6 guys to play all year, figure it out. But yeah, that is my thoughts here on the Damian Lillard trade. If you guys have any thoughts, make sure to leave them down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.